Hopefully people are starting to join us now, so welcome to the Walkshire webinar. We're just going to wait a few minutes just to make sure that we have the right number of people in the room. So we've got a fair number of people in today. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all having a good afternoon and we're not sitting nicely in your lunch hour. You'd be glad to know we can't see all of you, so if you want to grab a bite to eat whilst you're watching us today, that's perfectly fine, but make sure that doesn't eat into your hour's Walkshire today. We hope that you are going to go out and about and enjoy your local area, because we're going to be talking a lot about walking in the next 30-40 minutes, so hopefully we'll inspire you to get out and about even more and enjoy your local area while you can. James has just joined us, who is the Walkshire Yorkshire CEO, so many of you will have met James already. I'll introduce myself a little bit more when I go through the slides, just in case people are joining as we go. James, have you got any thoughts, words you want to say whilst people are joining?
Fallen for the trap, everyone. Muted within minutes of joining the webinar. There you go, a schoolboy error. Yeah, just to welcome everybody to the webinar. And James, it seems we're both sharing the beautiful delights of the Yorkshire coast this afternoon. It looks nice and sunny behind you. But first and foremost, thank you for everyone for joining us this afternoon. Hot off a radio interview to celebrate the wonderful Michelin star winners across the county from last night, and of course the Yorkshire Dales receiving the accolade of being TripAdvisor's #1 national park all across Europe. So apologies I'm late, but it just shows the fast moving pace that we're working. The Walkshire campaign, as James has probably alluded to, was conceived this time last year actually, and was to be a complementary campaign to support many of the other campaigns and festivals that we would have been ordinarily running, such as the Tour de Yorkshire, our flagship event, the cycle race that is a moving postcard of everything that's brilliant about the county in April and May. But then, of course, food and drink festivals and a number of various other events. So Walkshire was planned to be a seasonal campaign that James will explain in detail, to work alongside many other campaigns, to be as inclusive as possible, to demonstrate the beauty, the variety, the dexterity, the four corners of the county, coastline, countryside, vibrant cities, and to also demonstrate our new approach in terms of inclusivity, to demonstrate a really modern Yorkshire as well as the Yorkshire that we all know. So over the next hour, we'll offer you opportunities to get involved, to understand how you as an individual, as a business or as a larger organisation can play a part. James will take you through the seasonality, the 365-day approach we've taken to this so we can support the economy and the visitor economy, irrespective of how COVID develops over the next few weeks and months. We think we're COVID proof, but as the last few weeks have shown, you know, we've gone from regional tourism to local tourism to hyper local tourism. And actually the walk of the day last week involved just walking in around your house, hiking up your stairs, walking around your living room. You know, if you're lucky enough to have a garden, you know, take a few steps out there with the kids on your own, or with your dog or cat. In my instance, and I apologise now if my cat Mo comes and joins us, because normally he does when we go into these calls. But yeah, just like to thank all the team for putting it together. I'll hand over to you, James. It'd be great to finish with Chris explaining how people can get involved. But to all new members, you're very, very welcome. It's great to see some new members joining us in recent months, but also to our existing members that have stayed loyal to us throughout what's been a really difficult 9 to 12 months. It's important that we understand our collective Yorkshire Together approach going forward, because we're in this together and we'll get out of it together. So look forward to listening to the next 50 minutes. And sorry I'm late, everyone.
That's okay. Thank you, James. Am I on screen? Yes, I am. Morning, everyone. Afternoon, in fact, everyone. Thanks for taking some time out of your lunch hour today to hear us talk about Walkshire. My name is James Mackenzie, and it's very confusing that we have two Jameses in the business. I blame the parents. I'm the Director of Strategic Delivery here at Welcome to Yorkshire, so my main job really is to make sure campaigns like Walkshire work and get off the ground and have the maximum impact and benefit for the region that they can. I'm going to take you through some slides this morning, show you a little bit about our online presence, and give you a view of what we've done so far, what the plans are for the rest of the year, and then Chris, as James alluded to, is just going to finish off with a couple of opportunities for people to get involved. So I'm just going to share my screen. So hold on 1 second. So you should be able to see my screen. Okay, so we're going to talk about what is Walkshire and how can you get involved. And the first question that most people ask us when we talk about Walkshire is, why walking? Why walking? Why that versus lots of other particular campaigns, lots of other things that you could have talked about. And as James alluded to, we've been plotting and planning this for quite a while now. And the reason why walking is simply, it's about everybody. It's about all of our communities. It's about all of our people who live in the region. It's about all the people who visit the region. It's about all of the activities that drive our communities, whether that's going for a walk with someone you've been friends with for 60 years, whether that's part of your community group, whether that's part of a bunch of mums with prams going around a park, whether that's intergenerational families of grandchildren with grandkids, or whether it's city centre, such as the Botanical Gardens in Sheffield there, or out in the countryside, or even accessibility. Walking is pretty universal, and it's open to every single person, and therefore that makes that the ideal platform. Walking is accessible to all, no matter where you live or who you are. It transcends all communities, requires no ability or equipment, and in most instances it's free to walk. The aim of Walkshire is to encourage visitors to come more often to Yorkshire, to stay longer, to spend more money, thus demonstrating the economic impact of Walkshire to the region when it's safe to do so. So clearly, as we go through this, we'll talk a lot about the restrictions at the moment. We'll talk about the challenges that all of our members face, and the challenges that we face and everybody in the regional economy faces. But this is about linking together something that's accessible for all and available to all with helping the recovery of the industry and the recovery of the region. So what is Walkshire? For those of you who haven't seen any of our external activity or just seen a little bit of it, what I thought I'd do is the next couple of slides is just take you through what Walkshire is. And Walkshire is a year-long campaign to celebrate walking by amplifying the best about the county. And we're working in partnership with those who have real authenticity and real credibility to the source material. So you will have seen some of our activity on Walk a Day, but you might not have seen all of our activity in other social media outlets or other digital outlets as well. But there are three types of people that we're working with. First and foremost, we have a charity partner, and that is Yorkshire Cancer Research. Some of you may be aware of their work, some of you may not be aware of their work, but certainly by the end of the year, you'll know a hell of a lot more about them. There is a real clear benefit, obviously, with walking and health and well-being and reducing the risk of developing cancer. There are a couple of big fundraising activities that are planned for the rest of the year, all of which are open for you guys to get involved with, either as participants or as businesses to help and support as well. The first one is the Tour de Walkshire Challenge, which will be in May 2021. Now, unfortunately, because of COVID, the Tour de Yorkshire isn't happening in 2021, and we're replacing that with a month-long walk, run and cycle challenge across the whole of the month of May to help the charity raise funds to help with their research to improve cancer care and treatment. That month-long activity will be followed by some activity around Yorkshire Day, which we're going to rename as Walkshire Day. And in July and August, we're going to be working with a number of iconic locations, Castle Howard, Peace Hall, Leeds Liverpool Canal, and have some organised fundraising activity there, you know, short walks for the family, get people to be sponsored to do that activity as well. So again, if you're interested and you are at the home of one of those great iconic locations and you want to be involved in that, we would love to chat to you. There's also going to be event fundraising throughout the year as well on a smaller scale. We're also working with organisations that have that real authenticity and credibility about the source material. It would be really, really easy to have 365 walks, just a map, but that would get boring really, really quickly. So we're working with people like the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust, Sustrans and the Canal and River Trust to help with those routes, but also really create those stories. So you may have seen last Monday, we did a piece of activity with the Canal and River Trust around Blue Monday and how walking near water is great for your mental health. And in fact, mental health has been our main message throughout, our main theme throughout January anyway. But again, we're looking to work with more organisations that have got great stories about their routes, what activities you can take part in on the route, and drive that engagement and ideas. And again, we're looking to go out and film people, capture those stories, and I'll talk in a couple of slides about how we'll present those back. But again, having that activity for people on the ground who are passionate about their particular part of Rotherham, their particular part of Ripon, is really, really important for us to make sure that comes across. We're also working with a number of famous faces and influencers, and those people will help us personalise the campaign and help people reassess walking and attract new visitors to the region when we can. So you'll have seen already Dr. Amir Khan, who created some stuff for us on the 1st of January, talking about health benefits. Amanda Owen is also going to do some work for us, and Hannah Cockcroft, the Paralympic and World Paralympian champion sprinter, is going to be doing some work with us as well. We're also supporting bloggers in the region. You know, we're really proud of some of the talented people that we see online and meet online, and there are some great people out there. You will have seen 2 blogs already, specifically on Walkshire, from Muddy Boots Mummy, who's talking about accessibility around prams and routes for younger kids, and Busy Mum Lifestyle, who's a lady who did a blog on the Bronte Heritage Walk for us last weekend. And she's got an 9-month-old boy. So again, accessibility and prams are important for her. And then national and international influencers. So you may have seen the work we've been doing with Paul Field, the ball hiker. Paul has 1 million followers over all social media channels, and really resonates with that core hiking, walking market. We're also talking to people like Black Girls Hike, who you may have seen on BBC Countryfile recently, and also working with Access for All to talk about accessibility. And we're going to be talking a lot about that at the end of this month, start of next month, and doing a lot of work on accessible walking. As I said, anchoring that campaign on daily content is great, but we need to create reasons and reasons to visit and engage through that understanding of the source material. How do we do that? So you may have seen on our website, and I'm going to show you in a couple of seconds just what the website looks like. There are 2 main ways to do that. There's the Give Me the Route. So Give Me the Route. You'll have hopefully seen our Walkshire map, which has got about 160 routes on it. We're going to be adding more to that as we go through the year. These come with a real short commentary. And then also there's an Inspire Me blog as well. So this is one taken from the weekend, which is Merlin the Chocolate Wizard, who's a brown, chocolate brown Labrador, and his walk in Sands End. And that is about creating that inspiration for dog walking. It's really, really, really simple to get involved in these. So again, we're looking for content, and we're looking to work with partners to create that content. This might look quite complex from the outside, but if I just show you a couple of things on the web page. So this is our Walkshire homepage, and if you click on here, you come to the Yorkshire routes map. So for example, is one I loaded up earlier, which is Thirsk. We'll talk a little bit about Thirsk in there, bit of a description, and we can put loads of routes and put loads of contacts on there. That looks really complicated to do. It's really, really simple, actually. There is one simple form which we will give you a link to, and you need to add a title, a little bit of a description, any images, any links, and we can help you create what's called a GPX file, and that GPX file allows us to map that route onto the specific map. So all we need to do is work with people, either as individuals or business organizations, and we can put your content and your walks onto the map, and they can be held there forever and used as a great reference point. In terms of the inspiration, for example, here is a buggy-friendly Temple Newsom walk from Muddy Boots Mummy. This is just a blog with simple text and inspiration. And again, we can link out to individual sites, whether that be your own business site or an individual blog as well. Again, really, really easy to do. This is just a simple WordPress. This is the back end of it. Simple WordPress site where we can help you load that content up. Just going to go back to my presentation now. So that's Walkshire and what we've created so far. How's it gone so far? So in the first 7 days, we had an amazing start. So we were featured on the top news story on the BBC News website. We've been on numerous BBC radio and local news programs. We've been in numerous local and national press campaigns, and that's been a great reach for all of our partners that we've worked with so far. And actually, the digital stats are quite impressive. This is just from the first 7 days, but I'll just bring your attention to the last two numbers there. 3.7 million total impressions across all of our social media platforms. That's now well in advance of 4 million and edging towards 5 million sort of 20 days in. And our web traffic in that time period has increased significantly. So what we're finding is that talking about walking at this point of time is really about the zeitgeist. So everybody's out and about because it's just about everything that it's just about the only thing that people can do, albeit locally and safely. We're driving massive engagement, and getting that engagement now at this point of the year, ahead of restrictions rolling back, is really, really important to make sure that we are at the forefront of people's minds when they're talking about their domestic holiday in 2021. We all know that people's tourism domestic tourism will be a massive part of the economic recovery because of the restrictions of travelling abroad. More importantly, we're really happy about the sentiment and how people are interacting with the campaign. So the sentiment is very, very positive, and we've got only 1% of the campaign has slightly negative content, but that's a fantastic place to have a sentiment score of 97.44, especially in the middle of a global pandemic. Again, we're very happy that the engagement isn't just on mobile. There's 1 in 4 people are engaging on desktop and web, which we know is more about planning routes and things to do in the future. So we're really happy with that. But the thing that we're most happy about is the organic growth of the campaign. So as I talked about those numbers before, that is all organic. There's no paid for activity there. There's no activity around pushing that out and paying the social media providers to show it to people. What we're actually seeing is the vast majority of social media interaction is either retweeted or comments or people getting behind it. We've got 25 posts on Instagram talking about Walkshire. There are nearly 2,000 posts on Instagram with the Walkshire hashtag now. People are really getting behind it and really understanding that this is hitting what's important here and now. The liftoff was really strong. So our first tweet was our Walkshire video, which I hope some of you have seen. If not, I urge you to go and have a watch. It's about 2 minutes long, and it's a fantastic understanding of what we're doing with this campaign. But we're nearly at 200,000 people that have seen that video on Twitter alone, plus YouTube, plus the web, plus all the Facebook and Instagram other platforms as well. It's really resonating. And the feedback is inspiring. So I talked a little bit about the positivity. Here are 4 examples, and I could have picked out 400 or 4,000 quite easily. So here's one on the left-hand side from Dr. Amir Khan on the 1st of January from a guy called Joe Walker, who had seen that and has been inspired to go out and go for a 6-mile walk. Debbie at the Outdoor Guide talking about accessibility and getting out walking or wheeling. A lady called Mandy Taylor, who is embracing the initiative because it's vital for her health and her well-being. And Local Business Social in Leeds have been so inspired that they've created not 1 but 2 blog posts based around the campaign that's really resonated with their business and helped them reevaluate how they can help with the local economy as well. So what is that economic benefit? So a lot of people might be saying it's great getting people out walking, it's great getting people to help with their mental health, and of course that is true. What's really important is that we can utilize this platform to help small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and larger corporate organizations. For example, and Chris will talk through the details at the end, but the walk a day feature from £50 on average is getting 20,000 plus impressions. So the walk at Sands Beach, which is Merlin the Chocolate Wizard that we talked about earlier, that had nearly 50,000 views across all of our platforms, 50,000 impressions across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the weekend. It was just really, really pertinent, and businesses linked to that are getting the exposure that they wouldn't be able to get, or certainly for that return on investment. It allows us to have a wide reach in multiple locations because of the depth of the walking routes that we have, and it's going to be forever featured. You know, whether you are the cafe owner on the route, whether you're a small business owner on the route, whether you have accommodation there or not, this will be forever linked and forever set as part of that route. And as people through the rest of the year start looking for those walking routes as they come to visit, they will see your brand, your business front and centre. We're also engaging new audiences to visit later. So we know it's really, really important that we have a stay safe, stay local, safe for later message, which hopefully you've seen. But building this library of walks, we're getting loads of feedback of people saying how brilliant this is to inspire them to go to places. And their future plans are being filled by this activity. We're engaging with new audiences that we wouldn't have historically engaged with. So Dr. Amir Khan brings his 200,000 followers to the campaign. Amanda Owen brings her circa 500,000 followers, and Paul Steele, as we talked about in The Bald Hiker, has 1 million followers worldwide, and we're getting engagement all over the globe. We had one person in the States suggest to rename the name of their town in honor of walking as well, because they love the campaign of Walkshire so much as well. And we have got more to come throughout the year. So as I said, the accessibility work at the end of this month, and Black Girls Hike, and talking about representing all of our communities will help square that even further. And we can also help businesses, and are helping businesses in the local areas as well, by talking about getting out and walking. People are going for that cup of coffee where they can, or having that takeaway where they can. We're also utilising the Yorkshire Marketplace. Hopefully a lot of you have seen that, but the Yorkshire Marketplace is our place within Yorkshire.com that shows all of our members' online shops and can bring product at home to them as well. And you'll see that we message a lot about that as part of the campaign too. And also the support services and industries as well. You know, you do not have to be a tourist attraction to be involved in the sponsorship. You know, it's about supporting the wider economy and supporting the wider business as well. That's great for now, but once the restrictions are relaxed, what you will see is that the digital campaign will ratchet up. One of the key reasons that we are doing this as a digital campaign is it gives us the flexibility, it gives us the ability to react to changes in legislation. So as you're all aware, the lockdown came into force on the 3rd of January, 3 days into our campaign that had different restrictions at the start of that. So we're able to pivot almost on a daily basis. We were able to pivot and react to the risk of flooding in the region and make sure that we weren't talking about areas that were under threat as well. So it's a very flexible campaign. But once the restrictions start to come, you'll see some really important things happening. All of our members automatically will get listed on the map. So the way that the map is built, and for example, here is Thirsk, our members will come straight onto that map. So when you're looking for that walk and looking for somewhere to come, the Yorks of Thirsk Tea Rooms will be part of that. Heriot, the World of James Heriot will be part of that, or any member will be part of that. And there's 160 walks on there at the moment, and the plans are to get that up to near as 250, 300 as we add more throughout the year. So great opportunity for members to enhance their visibility within the region and within the digital landscape. We're also looking for user-generated content and reviews. You know, as we can get out and about and film, as we can get out and about and create user-generated content, you will start to see more of that appearing within the campaign, whether that's talking about Stumcross Caverns, whether it's talking about walking on the Leeds Liverpool Canal and the local businesses there, whether it's talking about your business and your stories and how walking is great for you. We're looking for that, and it will move on from the fave now to still enjoy safely, because obviously we're going to have some restrictions. We're also going to be engaging new audiences to book now as well. So we have the TXGB booking engine, which has got the 2.5% commission rate embedded into our website already. So as members sign up, so more members sign up, the more product we'll have, the more we'll be able to deliver that customer journey of seeing the map, clicking on the member, booking the accommodation in one fell swoop. We'll also have new products as well. People like Real Yorkshire Tours are going to be helping us with things like bookable walking, and again, that's part of the partnership and that's part of working together. We're also really focusing on sustainability in the countryside code. We want to make sure as people start to enjoy more of the region that they are very clear on what to do and what not to do, and that will be videography and help guides and talking about countryside code. But sustainability isn't just about how you behave when you're there, it's about how you use public transport. So we're talking with people like Transdev about how we really talk about the use of buses and public transport to make sure that that is a key part of that. Same with coach operators and larger parties as well. But it gives us these platforms again to amplify the region's best messages and stories. So if you have product, if you have stuff that you would like to book, if you have a message to talk about, to engage on new audiences around the routes, absolutely we want to talk to you and what we can do. But also we're going to deliver measurable economic benefit, offers and promotions to deliver footfall. How do we work with local businesses as they're reopening to make sure that our members are at first in the queue in terms of being on the list of people coming back to the region as well. But that's not just about us talking about that through our digital channels or our specific channels. We're really focusing on how we have technology to lead that personalization and relevancy. So we've just launched a new email platform with Force24, a Leeds-based business, excellent business. Their product is fantastic. Highly urge if you don't know them, get in contact and chat to them if you do any email marketing. But that email platform allows us to personalize and segment customers by their actions within the email. So we'll start to personalize emails more to our customers. So those people who have younger families that are interested in family activities won't receive things that might be around seniors or empty nesters. We're also developing an app, which you may have heard about in the press. And again, that will be about personalization and more around the in-visit experience. So think visit Dubai, visit Melbourne, visit London, that sort of activity of helping our members become forefront in mind around Walkshire and around the area that the visitor is in. And the principle for us is creating that return on investment that's greater than the annual fee. What does it look like for the rest of the year? So obviously in January and March, we're talking about New Year and health and mindfulness. As we turn into February, there'll be more about Valentine's Day and romantic walks. Half-term holidays, we'll be talking about stuff for the kids to do. As we come into spring and think about weatherproof walks and into making memories for Mother's Day, you'll see those themes start to get reflected on the walk of the day and also the other messages that we'll be sharing across our digital platform. April, June, Easter, and things like a non-kids holiday focus. So those people who take time off when kids are not off school, and what are they looking for? Obviously, that's dependent on restrictions. Tour de Walkshire that we talked about, the month-long fundraising activity, walking in the week for those people who are maybe retired from work and don't want to get away. They want to be there when people are there at the weekends. Great opportunities for businesses to drive footfall during the week there. And we're working with Sustrans to talk about the Big Pedal, which is actually a piece of work to try and understand how many people walk and cycle to schools. July and September, hopefully the restrictions will start to be rolled back a wee bit there, but we've got making memories for Father's Day, but big focus in the summer holidays, talking about coastal, talking about activities for the kids that are based around getting out and about, Walkshire Day fundraising, as we talked about, working with the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust on the Great Yorkshire Creature Count, getting young families out and about and looking at the wildlife around them. And we'll start as we go into September talking about culinary walks, which is very relevant with the news that we've had today of the Michelin Star Awards for the region. And then into October and December, obviously half-term holidays and ghost walking is a very clear thing to do. But we'll start talking about the best of the year. We're going to have a Walkshire Advent calendar and talk about Christmas walking. So what Walkshire isn't a flash in the pan. It isn't something that's just here for January. It's something that's here for the whole year, and that gives every single one of you an opportunity to find something to engage with. The final thing I'll say here is, if you've got some great ideas, if there's some things that are relevant to you, we have flexibility in the campaign to build them into the campaign and focus on your what's right for you and your business, as long as it sits within, obviously, the aims of the campaign as well. So before I sum up towards the end, Chris is just going to talk about the Walk a Day opportunities and partnerships.
Thanks, James. Hi, everybody. Chris Powell, Head of Commercial. Sorry, it's a really bad echo. Thanks, James. Chris Powell, Head of Commercial. It's nice to see so many people engaged with today's session and with the Walkshire campaign so far. What we'll do, we'll talk through a couple of different options that we have for businesses to get involved with our Walkshire campaign. As many of you will have seen through social media, we are posting our walk of the day that shares a route around the county, and we're trying to make sure that we have a nice even spread of locations across Yorkshire. And the opportunities for businesses to get involved, we wanted it to be as an accessible a campaign as possible for all types of businesses, all shapes and sizes. So for businesses to be able to get involved with Walkshire from as little as £50 to sponsor a walk of the day across one of the social media platforms, and then there's opportunities to enhance that offering and opportunity, whether you want to access all 700,000 combined followers that we have across social media, to be able to promote yourself, to promote your business. And it's a great opportunity for you to share, to be able to promote yourself. And we do have opportunities to also now include a couple of lines about yourself, whether this is through on the website, because all sponsored walks will have a sponsor credit, as well as the opportunity to say a little bit about yourself on that site as well as now we're going to add that to our Facebook offering as well. So what we're seeing, and we're developing and changing and giving extra opportunity and extra chances for exposure for partners and businesses across the region as the campaign develops as well. If you could change to the next slide, please, James. This gives you a little idea about what it looks like to be the sponsor of a walk of the day. So for our Twitter feed, we have kind of a predetermined message where you can see where your business can be tagged in, and we have a nice gallery, carousel gallery across our social media platforms, whether it's stories on Instagram or through Twitter posts and Facebook posts, where we'll share the route, we'll share distances, we'll share how challenging it may or may not be, as well as there where you can see where your logo can be positioned as well. Next slide, please, James. The second option around the walk of the day is to become a more official Walkshire partner, and this gives businesses the chance who want to engage with the campaign across the year the opportunity to have 12 walks of the day, and these can be whether it's on a monthly basis, whether it's targeting specific even times of the year to fit within your own activities and your own marketing campaigns. And it just gives you that opportunity to have those touch points across the year with us through Walkshire, to be able to then generate and gain exposure and be able to ride off the traction that the campaign is getting. One thing just to add on, Kenzie touched on around TXGB, is the opportunity to engage with Walkshire goes far beyond obviously just being a walk of the day sponsor or a partner of the campaign, to see that kind of that traction and that business exposure that way, but being able to create a bookable product that's specific to Walkshire and that works around your business can really help attract new tourists, whether they are local Yorkshire people or from further afield, whether that's nationally, internationally, when times allow, but can really help generate and get those pounds back in the tills for businesses across the county. Thanks, James.
You're on mute, James. We're all falling for it.
Go, sorry.
We'll just dock your wages, don't worry.
That's fine, don't worry. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Just as Walkshire is accessible to all our friends, families and visitors to the region, it's accessible to all our members, businesses based in the region and those that trade in it as well. It delivers flexibility in a digital-led environment for any business of any size. So the request really is share your plans and goals, and we'll amplify those to the customer base that's engaging with our Walkshire messages. You know, we want to hear your ideas, we want to see your input, and we want to very much see this as a bottom-up campaign that talks about our members, that talks about the people that live and work in the region, and talks about the great businesses that trade in the region. It's a fantastic opportunity in terms of getting messages out in a really difficult economic perspective and position. We're very proud of Walkshire so far. We're very proud of the reach that it's delivered and the positivity it's delivered. We're also really proud that we're one of the few businesses that is talking about something positive. We're certainly one of the few DMOs that are talking about something that's positive and can have that economic impact in the time of the COVID crisis. And we would love to work much more closely with lots of you to help that happen for the region and for the economic recovery. That's it from me in terms of. I'll stop sharing my screen.
James, is it possible to just address some of the questions if I throw them to you and you can answer them? And for anyone that's joining us at home, just to reference that we do have a live Q&A box. So if you're not familiar with Teams, if you hover over your control bar there, you've got a show conversation, which is like a speech bubble, and then you've got one that's got 2 with a question mark on it, which is a Q&A. So in there, we have a number of questions that we'll go through, and thank you to all the people that have sent questions in already. So Giles, Justin, a couple of anonymous ones, Ian, Gunther, all the way over from Northern Europe, and Mrs. Anro. So we'll address these one by one if that's okay. Chris, who you've heard from, and Natalie are ably answering some questions, but Giles Rochelle, photographer, has suggested that everyone has a camera these days, whether it's on their mobile phone or other device. Are there any plans to use these pictures to demonstrate and leverage the visual beauty of Yorkshire through photography? So I'll hand that to you, James. But I suppose the concept of this Walkshire campaign is that we don't really want to own it, do we? We want this to be owned by everyone that experiences Yorkshire and its beauty, but also many of the urban walks that are possible. I went on one just the other week through Leeds City Centre. A cultural and visual sort of tour of the influence of the black population of Leeds throughout the last 20-30 years, and it was a real experience for me to really appreciate some of the architecture, some of the parks and gardens that are on a doorstep in a city that I think I know quite well, but perhaps I didn't. So yeah, how can cameras and how can individuals play a part in this, James?
Yeah, hi. Firstly, hello to Giles. I don't think I'm on the screen yet. Okay. Firstly, hello to Giles. I recognise him from our Facebook group. He's one of our big contributors on there, so thank you very much for that. Yeah, as James says, we don't want to own this. This is about people organically spreading the word as much as anything else. So photography will be a big part of some of the key events in the year. So when we get to things like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, actually, we're not going to publish a walk a day on those days. What we're going to ask it for is people's user-generated content. So what are those memories that you are making on Mother's Day, on Christmas Day, on Father's Day, those big key events for the year? But again, you know, we would love to feature and work with some of the great photographers that we know are around to do more focused activity on, you know, walking and photography. It'd be great, Giles, if you wanted to give some top tips on taking the best photographs when going out and about on your walk. So it'd be great to talk to that. I mean, we're talking to a number of photographers as well, but the wider that we cast the net is great. One of the other things that we're talking about in terms of photography is capturing lots of these walks and looking, can we publish them in terms of a book maybe towards the end of the year as well. So yes, please let's have a chat. But user-generated content, user-generated photos are a massive part of our plan.
Cool, thanks, James. I'll throw another one to you, if I may. This came as anonymous, but I think we've worked out who it is. It's Diane Howarth from Cottage in the Dale. So thanks, Diane, for sending this in. Great initiative. Is there any mileage for smaller businesses to collaborate and engage? So we've answered it to some extent, but again, I'll throw it back to you, James. I think your example of Thirsk and a pretty market town in North Yorkshire is ideal for this. You know, had restrictions not prevented us from, I suppose, curating exact walks for people to move across the county to, but the idea would be where to park, where to have coffee and cake, where to walk to in between lunch, whether it's the Heriot Visitor Centre, you mentioned the World of James Heriot, or various other parts of the market town. So yeah, can businesses collaborate? I suppose it's inclusive as it possibly can be.
Yeah, I think that James has done a good job of answering that, but just a little bit more flavour on that. I think the reason the campaign is built for every single business of every size to be involved. This is not a massive corporate initiative. This is not, that there's place for things like that in the calendar. But this is about how do we give access to that tea rooms or that accommodation provider to something that's relevant for them, either geographically or either through, special interests, whether that be accessibility, whether that be something else. But I think we are working really closely with the local authorities as well, and that there's real power in working with those local authority visitor attraction teams as well to try and pool some of that stuff together. So having that curated view of Thirsk or Ripon or Saltaire or Saltburn, that we can work together to do that either on an individual basis or grouping people together. I generally find that a lot of the tourism focused accommodation providers and hospitality providers tend to know each other quite a lot in these market towns and these small areas, so we can help facilitate interaction with local authorities, or we can do it together. I think it's that the campaign is built with that flexibility in mind.
Thanks, James. It's just it's worth pointing at this stage. We're only 24 days into the Walkshire campaign, so this can breathe as the season goes on. We can raise the tempo, we can take our foot off the gas, we can bring our wonderful gardens and many castles and recreational spaces to build on our success in the past with Chelsea Flower Show. So there's lots of things that we can do throughout the season. But actually, as Chris and James have mentioned, send ideas in. The beauty about this is that, it's not exhaustive. We're in winter at the moment, so we're restricted to some extent. But as we burst into spring and through into summer, and then, of course, autumn and then winter again, just imagine some of the snowy, Christmassy winter walks that we can do, incorporating beautiful vistas looking out over the Yorkshire coast, and then those pub lunches alongside a log fire, which we're all yearning for. And James mentioned there the Tour de Walkshire. So Ian Ferguson said, great initiative. My question would be, how do you envisage working with sustainable transport, which you've part answered, but you can embellish on that, James. And then also not losing the Tour de Yorkshire. So on that, Ian, we're all huge supporters of the Tour de Yorkshire. It will continue to be our flagship event. The good news is that the event is only postponed this year, and that was specifically for COVID safety reasons. That will bounce back into life in 2022. And the good news is it might be the big celebration of the region that we all need to bring us all back together to support the wider economy. In the absence of that this year, we will continue working on the Cycle England project that will be working to promote cycling holidays in the county. It's a legacy we want to build on and we're very proud of. But the Tour de Walkshire campaign is just a play on words, So over to you, James, on sustainable transport, if you want to embellish on that, and then on the Tour de Walkshire, and then weaving in that cycling accessible transport angle.
Perfect. So sustainability is really important to us. I talk about a couple of things. One of the reasons that this is a digital campaign is that it's sustainable, and we're not printing lots and lots of paper, and we're not printing chopping down lots of trees to do it. And I think that is something we're really conscious about. Maybe in history we weren't as conscious about that as we should be, but we are endeavouring to be digital first in terms of that from a sustainability perspective, as well as an ease and flexibility. In terms of sustainable transport, look, we're working really closely with people like Transdev, who run a huge number of the public transport bus routes across the county. We're working very closely with LNER to talk about cycling and train network as well, and also with Leeds Bradford as well Airport, to talk about how we can use those transport hubs. So we're covering, and we're also got conversations with people like Dales Bus as well. So very much what you'll see throughout the year is interspersed, focused weeks and activities around sustainability. Again, when we can get out and film with Transdev, we'll be doing lots of filming on the buses to see how easy they are to use, what great facilities. Loads of people don't realise that, you know, we've got USB chargers on those bus routes now, and you can charge devices. The seats are much better than probably we all remember from being on buses to school and various things like that. So really help people understand that. So Coastliner is a really important route with Transdev for that. We'll be talking a lot about that in the summer. And the flip side is that the Transdev guys are looking at how they can talk about tickets and offers to encourage people to come onto the public transport as well. One of the other things with Transdev and getting those on the routes, getting them on board, is that on some of those long distance routes, they've got a lot of time to kill, and they use it almost as a tourist guide. You know, look out to your left, you'll see this. Look out to your right, you see that. So we need to really play on the tourism element and how you really learn from that, and almost see it as a bit like a coach tour, a guided coach tour, and that thing. But it's very much at the heart of everything that we are doing, and so, you know, we have to make sure that that's part of that. In terms of cycling, so the Tour de Yorkshire, as James talked about, is not a replacement for the Tour de Yorkshire. That will come back next year. The challenge is run, walk, cycle. So we'll set, you know, some mileage, some walks for people, and ask them to get sponsorship for Yorkshire Cancer Research. So I very much hope a lot of people listening today will get the bug for that as well. Again, you know, depending on restrictions, a lot of that might be linked to being local. But if the restrictions are changed by them, which we hope they will be, the message will be very much about doing that sustainably. But also at the same time, if you're going to go out and cycle, make sure here are the cafes, here are the pubs, here are the places to stop, to make sure that you're not just going through, and you're thinking very much about how we could help the local economy as well.
Thanks, James. Question for Chris Powell here. I'll just find it, so I'll give you a breather, James. So from Mrs. Anne Rowe, Chris, you mentioned TXGB in the presentation with regards to our bookable product, our new bookable platform, reference to 2.5%, but then you have to add the 7% Yorkshire.com commission, taking it 10%. Is this misleading? So Chris, can you explain a little bit more about TXGB and our new booking platform?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, James. So with TXGB, we have there's a couple of different options. So it falls in line with our new membership model. So for members, there is 7.5% commission to list a bookable product within their Yorkshire.com page. And then there is then a 2.5% charge to TXGB put on top of all bookings across their portfolio as well, which you're absolutely right, and does indeed get us to a 10% total commission. The second option is through our Member Plus membership level, where it's a 2.5% Yorkshire.com fee, then plus the TXGB is 2.5% as well. So although there is a difference between 5 and 10% within those commission rates, we are much lower than other competitors in the market who host as booking sites. It gives our members a newfound use for their Yorkshire.com page, which isn't something we've been able to offer before. So we're happy to be able to offer that out to members, and with 11 million users coming to Yorkshire.com each year, then it's a fantastic way for them to not just be inspired about what to do in Yorkshire, but then to also book their holiday as well. And thirdly, around TXGB, the beauty of the platform is that businesses can register for free, and commission is only paid when someone books whether it's accommodation, whether it's an attraction, but then it opens up a much broader distribution range. So a business is able to opt into multiple channels, whether it be Yorkshire.com, If they're local, there are parts of the county that are also working with TXGB as well. So I know the team at Discover Yorkshire Coast are doing so. Visit Doncaster are doing so. Team at Sheffield. So it's the opportunity to plug into multiple channels to therefore have multiple distribution and give yourself more opportunity to be found by the way that a user is trying to book their overnight stay, their week-long holiday, or things to do when they're in the region. So hopefully that clears answers that one. And I'm just going to bring up some questions that we've had pre-submitted, James, unless there's anything you wanted to add on the TXGB front.
I'd just add on the TXGB that Chris is absolutely right. There's different levels and different areas to look at. And that's a great question and the right question to ask for clarification. I think the other piece that we would say is that, you know, those numbers are significantly lower than some of the larger conglomerate sort of booking online booking firms. I'm not going to name any of them. And also, I think the key thing for us is if we can save any member money in terms of the less commission they're paying out, that means there is more money for that member, for their bottom line, for their business, and that's part of the return on investment for membership. So, you know, it's absolutely crucial for us that we are able to demonstrate saving our members money, and if we can save them £10 in every 100, it's a great place to be. But thanks for asking the question. It's right to ask for the clarity.
Okay, thanks, James. We're just going to head over to some of the questions that we had pre-submitted when people registered. So thank you for those people that did so and sent those through. We've got one question here, which is how can local Yorkshire businesses participate and or leverage the campaign besides sponsoring a walk of the day and retweeting the Welcome to Yorkshire walks and referencing local walks on social media? James, do you want to take this one? I think we've kind of covered lots of bits in around this, but it'd be good to just, if we can just clear that up there. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that question. So yes, we talked about the walk today and stuff, etc. I think the key point here is your stories, your content, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're an accommodation provider. That could be a business based in the centre of Leeds, centre of Sheffield, centre of York. That you know, you might go out for a walk on your lunch hour. You know, one of the things that one of the interesting projects that we're talking about internally. But right to mention to you guys is net walking. So, you know, that business angle of walking. So, you know, don't think just because you are you're not on that route that there isn't something that you can contribute to the campaign. As James said, and I mentioned earlier, you know, we don't want to own this. This is about us amplifying the movement and amplifying communities. So content, insight, stories, hopefully with something that links back people to coming to the region or within the region, going and visiting at hospitality to help with that recovery, or you know, something that really demonstrates return on the investment to the wider region. But yeah, your stories, you guys are closer to the ground than we are. That's what we want to talk about and amplify if it's outside of, you know, walk a day and partnership activity.
Fantastic, thanks, James, and thanks to Diane Howard from Cottage and Dales for submitting that question in advance. We've got another question now that's coming from Nathan Clay from Foster Clay Law, and it's a one that we've discussed a lot and over the last few weeks, particularly with lockdowns coming in and out with the campaign. So, how often have you changed your campaign to take on board the continuing travel restrictions?
Great question. In truth, probably every day, but in reality, you know, we have certainly changed 3 or 4 times in the first 26 days. Certainly, first around the lockdown, first around stay late, stay safe, stay local, save for later, and I think it will continue to evolve, and that's why I'm really proud of it being a digital campaign at the moment, because it gives us that flexibility to deliver and react very quickly to any changing COVID restrictions, both positive and negative, and any business requests as well. You know, so if people come in with really brilliant ideas, we can incorporate and action them really quickly. You know, one of the beauties of Welcome to Yorkshire is it's a small, agile team, and you know, Chris and James and myself are just the people you've seen today, but you know, there's 20 of us that are able to react and deliver things really quickly. So Yes, we're doing a lot of changing, but it's a very positive thing.
Thanks, James. One more that we've had in from Lisa from Stump Cross Limited, who's asked, like to know about how we can add walks from their doorstep at Stump Cross Caverns, which would be great for you to be able to elaborate on there, James, as well as about how they can share information with visitors when that time comes as well.
Yeah, great question. Stump Cross, brilliant, fantastic visitor attraction, one of my family's favourites. So great to hear that you're engaged. So there's two platforms. There is a platform which is the route, the map, which is driven by those GPS or the GPS routes, or the blog, which is around inspiration. So, you know, talking about your favourite walks, talking about why Stump Cross is a great place to be, the local towns, you know, and Nidderdale and Hayley Bridge and places like that would be great as well. So we'd love to have a chat with you about that sort of stuff. It'd be fantastic.
Brill. And then we've got another one which has come in from Jamie Roberts from the Kilnsley Park Estate, which is, what opportunities are there for inviting journalists to join special walks?
Great question. Definitely in our plans. Some of you may or may not know Carolyn, who is our press officer guru, communications officer guru. We would love to do that. It will be later in the year, obviously, and restrictions need to change. So we will be engaging with the press and trying to pick up some of those key walks and making sure that we do take advantage of that. But clearly, we need to make sure that the restrictions allow us to do that. But yes, definitely would love to talk to you about doing stuff like that.
Yeah, just on that, Jamie, nice to hear from you this morning, and we've got a couple more questions coming in. We've been inundated actually with press requests and specific walks, so it's, as James mentioned, it's about curating them for later in the year. The previous question was about how we're able to, I suppose, up the pace or decelerate with restrictions. You know, we had a number of walks that we've had to stop. We had one around the walled city of York, one along the banks of the River Ouse the other day when all the flooding came. So we're having to be nimble and change things. But yeah, walks in around you know, the North York Moors National Park, the Yorkshire Dales, the Yorkshire Coast, or even around the towns and cities that we've mentioned, or the canals, are all part of the itinerary. And actually, I was speaking with Duncan Craig just at the Sunday Times magazine last week, who'd picked up on this and said he'd like to send people up. So it's all part of it, which is really exciting. And again, it's low cost, but high impact sort of marketing, positioning ourselves for when the markets reopen. So that's great. A couple of questions coming in for both of you. So Fiona at House of Horse, new member, great to have you, Fiona. Rachel Wood's got an excellent question about whether the Olympics goes on, and I suppose if it doesn't go on, how can we get involved with that? Andrew Aldis asking about the big pedal, which is a new one for me, but that might be the big paddle that was referenced yesterday on the walk of the day. But we'll start with this one, which is, oh no, this is a hello from Marion in France. Hello, Marion, how are you? Yep. We're all very well, thank you. So let's take this one then. So Rachel Wood, Doncaster Leisure. If the Olympics still goes ahead, will you be doing anything around this? Thinking triathlon, walk, cycle and swim at the Dome and other Yorkshire pools, or even out in the sea, James?
I think this is a great example. To be honest with it, we have nothing in the plan at the moment to talk about that. And I think this is just a fantastic example of why this is a bottom-up ideas-led opportunity, and I think that would be a great thing to talk about, whether the Olympics goes ahead or not. I think that would be something that we could have a think about and see how we could fit that in, and would love to chat to you about that. I think it's a great example.
Yeah, I suppose another example is we've got the Rugby World Cup coming later on in October, which is going to feature significantly across our region. But if walking is the umbrella subject, you know, choose your own genre. You know, the Malton Food and Drink Festival that hopefully will spring back into life later this year, and various other festivals. James mentioned ghost walks around Whitby. But if you think about film tourism and TV tourism, which is having a huge renaissance for this region, especially over in America right now, you know, and Gunther's question about looking at international audiences, yes, exactly that. We can curate walks around iconic film locations in Haworth, in Grassington, in York, along the coast, anywhere. So I suppose the question, Rachel, would be send in your ideas and we can amplify these, as one of the questions earlier on was about, you know, using user-generated experiences of photographs or video. We want to throw our accounts open to everyone. You know, the county isn't owned by Welcome to Yorkshire. It's just that we have the privilege of being able to amplify some of these messages. So if it's cycling, if it's running, if it's fishing, if it's angling, a lot of these outdoor pursuits, especially in Kilnsea and Kilty Crag, there is something that we can do. So Fiona at the House of Hawes, great. House at Hawes. I was always going to say that, wasn't I, Fiona, after what we said last week. So there you go. There's my viral moment. Great to see the diversity of reach across the year. Would love to know more about empty nesters, the initiatives. Over to you, Kenzie, without smiling or laughing.
As I got caught with my 8-year-old bursting in on a presentation I was done with dealing with local authorities last week, I have no place to talk, but I suggest my place at the Christmas party of outtake of the year has just been replaced, so that's lovely. So I will talk about empty nesters in a second. I'll just answer the question about Big Pedal, because someone asked what that was. The Big Pedal is a piece of work with Sustrans. So Sustrans are the charity that looks after, the organisation that looks after our cycle network in the whole of the UK. So some great examples of that in West Yorkshire, the Spend Valley Greenway, Great Northern Trail. They are doing a piece of work if schools are open around who cycles or walks to school, just to understand that and understand around health of children and stuff. So it's a plan. Obviously, it's dependent on whether schools are open. Going back to empty nesters, so clearly empty nesters are a really important segment, and one of the, I'm glad you really brought that up, because hopefully one of the things that you'll see in the work and the plans that we've been talking about is talking about customer segmentation and really understanding what do we have for each segment. So hence why we talk about accessibility, stuff for mums with young children, stuff for seniors in the week, and so forth. So empty nesters, there'll be a lot of talk around when they generally take holidays, which is outside of the kids' holidays. So we'll be talking a lot specifically about things then for empty nesters, trying to and understanding when their behaviour is important and what that means in terms of those key focuses. Also coming with that will be a mix of things to do for different income levels as well. So it's easy to fall into the trap that empty nesters like to go on spa weekends or weekends to nice big hotels. Yes, proportionally they may do some of that more, but also we need to talk as much about entry level breaks and accommodation, entry level pieces of activity as well at the same time. So a lot of that to come as we go through the year.
Cool. Any more particular questions, Chris? We can continue until we've answered them all. So I know we were scheduled to finish at 1, but if there's a couple more coming in, we may as well ask James to answer them. Just looking myself now. Possibly not. Possibly not. What we actually there is one question that I think we've answered offline. James, a couple of members have asked if the campaign video is available to share or to upload to their own website. I'm presuming that's something that we can do, and I'm presuming it's something we'd like to do, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, anything that comes out on social media that is relevant, please, just get in contact and we'll share that stuff. I think it's important to get the message out. As James said, I think the important thing here is it's not it's our campaign, but we don't own it. It's not us setting the agenda, it's us reflecting what people in the region want to talk about. So the more reach that we can get, whether that's through your own personal business website, whether that's through your own personal social media, your business's social media, very, very happy to share content and very happy to do that. So just get in contact either by the email or through Chris's team, and we'll sort that out.
Great. I think we're going to wrap up now, so we're just going to give the final words to Chris, I think. So if anyone's interested in sending any ideas or content through, you can do that at Walkshire at yorkshire.com. Obviously, hopefully you visited the walkshire.com website. But Chris, do you want to have the final word in terms of anyone wanting to get involved? And I suppose just to add on one of the questions, I think from Diane, it doesn't necessarily have to be businesses. You know, we've had individuals, we've had charities that have wanted to sponsor some of the walks. So I'll leave you with the final word, but just to thank everyone for joining. Thanks to the team behind the scenes, you know, Lydia, Caitlin, Carolyn, Pete, all the team, Fiona, etc. Yeah, thanks for all your support, everyone. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, James. And I think it's just a big thank you for everyone for tuning in and watching today. If you have any questions on the Walkshire campaign, you can either drop me an email at cpowell@yorkshire.com or drop a line to the commercial@yorkshire.com email address, and someone from the team will get back to you. If you'd like to inquire about a walk within your local area that you'd like to get involved in, any of us will be able to help you with that. Or if you want to get involved as by being a Walkshire partner, or if you just want to send us some great content that we can look at posting through our blog site as well. Thanks for your time. Thanks, James, for being the hostess with the mostess this last hour, and hopefully we'll see you all soon. Thanks very much.